Hello, everyone. Another day, another bullshit. So there was a call between Trump and Putin, and Trump waxed lyrical about it, how neither one of them wanted to hang up the phone. A friend of mine says, so are they sending each other Valentine's Day's cards yet? Yeah, I want to know too. No, actually, no, I don't. But the point is, nothing was done. And now I'm still looking into that. I'm treating it as a developing story. But basically, Trump released another tweet and said he is going to walk away from Russia-Ukraine negotiations because, check this. You're going to love this. You know why? Because he has high respect for them both and believes that they can reach some kind of agreement on their own. So basically he went from I can end this in 24 hours to not worth it. So the news sources are trying to treat this with some kind of respect, which I don't think they should. Guys, if in your newsroom you read this and you went, what the fuck? You should publish that. Stop sane washing this man. Stop it. That's enough already. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Say it. Say it often and say it loud. Again, Putin basically says it's someone else's fault that we attacked our neighbor country, and so the only way we'll be satisfied is if that country surrenders to us. That's basically what he's saying. There's no nuances, there are no root causes. That is what he's saying. Everybody knows this. I just don't understand why people don't call him out on it. I really don't. And for the 50th time, Zelensky pointed out, guys, this is all bullshit. He is just trying to win more time, which should be obvious. Honestly, it should be perfectly obvious. He was never going to agree to anything. Putin was never going to agree to a ceasefire. He was never going to agree to anything meaningful. He is just stalling. What he needs, Putin does, he needs more time to conscript more soldiers, to bring in more people from North Korea, to get more weapons from his allies like Iran and yes, China to some extent. There are people saying China hadn't sent any weapons to Russia today. That's not true. China actually has been sending stuff to Russia. So the trick there is to send something that is less obvious. For example, and this is the US assessment. This is not just Ukraine's assessment. China's increased sales of microelectronics, machine tools, and other technologies that Russia uses to produce weapons like missiles and tanks indicate that China is knee-deep in this. Also, China collaborates with Russia on production of unmanned aerial vehicles, so drones. And they provide Russia with nitrocellulose, which is a key component in the manufacturing of ammunition. So please do not tell me that China is not supplying weapons to Russia. If all there is some assembly required, come on, it's a technicality. So, not a lot of options there. EU went ahead with additional package of sanctions, and another one being in the works. There is an investigation going on in Ukraine by Ukrainian military, talking about the Anne of Kiev Brigade, which was trained in France. So there's been a report about corruption and financial mismanagement. So again, I think that that's actually a really good illustration. People have been saying, well, Ukraine is corrupt. First of all, show me a country that is not, and look in the mirror. Second of all, whenever there were allegations of corruption, Ukraine went and investigated them, even if it was to their own detriment. Even if the answer came back, yes, that particular general or major or group of soldiers or brigade or whatever did steal and did embezzle. Even though they understood the reputational risk of that, they went and fucking investigated that. I think that's a lot better approach to corruption than some countries and some people have. This would be a symbolic gesture. So Ukraine is considering launching a war crime probe against North Korean President Kim Jong-un over backing Russia, sending them troops, and basically getting really messed up in this whole thing. So again, while there is a clear understanding that nothing will happen to the culprits, at least it's on the record. It will be on the record that such an investigation has been carried out. Now remember, there are also numerous human rights violations in North Korea, but Kim Jong-un himself has not been indicted. But now that North Korea had dipped its toes in the war in Ukraine, there are sufficient legal grounds to initiate a case against him for assisting Russia in waging war, which also includes multiple human rights violations. So there is some hypocrisy in this, and I think this is an issue we have globally. When a leader, an autocrat, a dictator, basically abuses his own citizens, like not just like Kim Jong-un, but think Stalin, thinks Pinochet, think Pol Pot. They abused their own people, tortured them, murdered them, infringed their human rights. The world generally remains silent for quite some time. But when somebody takes their human rights violations and puts them into the global arena, then we start stirring things up. So I don't care personally if this means that something happens for North Korea and something happens for Kim Jong-un that lands him in front of an international court. That would be awesome. Probably won't, not in my lifetime, but it would be cool. But it's an interesting international law situation that I always found very frustrating, because really it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if a despot, a dictator who is already torturing his own people has to do something abroad to be held responsible. And then there is this. So we just talked about China supplying Russia with components required for drones. We're talking about fiber optic drones in this case. And Ukraine is getting into this as well, and they absolutely should. They already are ahead in some areas. For example, they have the seafaring drones we talked about recently, and their, in general, homegrown drone production had increased, and which is wonderful. But if there's something to be learned in this by capturing Russian drones, go for it. So we'll see where that lands. More to come.